All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Black and Gold. This is HiBruiNation, the unofficial home of your Boston Bruins. Goosey, joined as always by the rest of the members of the Brute Squad, our very own Vibe Captain, Matty V, and the Marion Higster Higtionary. Fellas, say hi.
What's going on, everybody?
And Vogel is just crickets.
I mean, there's no vibes to be captaining today, so I can't blame him on that one.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Sets the mood. There's the vibe. Where's Studio V, buddy?
Yeah, that sets the tone.
Yeah, this shit sucks. My Wi-Fi sucks. Everything sucks.
Mr. Doom and Gloom. He's Mr. Doom and Gloom over there. Where's Studio V, huh? Hit me with it.
Studio V is too cold, so I am Studio V remote, and we're not. So we don't have the same setup, hence the no camera. But we're buzzing. We're gonna push on, and so we're here for. We're here to talk some hockey. We're here to talk some Bruins, and unfortunately, they suck.
Unfortunately, we have to do that.
Unfortunately, we have to talk about the games.
It's such a doom. You guys make it seem like such a doom and gloom situation. I mean, tonight, obviously, yeah, we have for everybody we're going to talk about the quarter century teams that were released earlier this week by the NHL. Some of our player updates with respect to the Bruins, questionable coaching decisions, general questions facing the team, and much, much more. So stick around as we get this ball rolling. You guys make it seem like it's so bad. We got 3 out of 4 points, but that one overtime, it should have been 4 out of 4 points. It should have.
We lost 3 out of 4. We got 3 out of 4 points, but looking big picture, we've won what, 1 out of the last 6 games or 5 games. I mean, and they weren't close. They were ugly losses.
2, I would think, out of the last 5.
And I would argue that 3 points that you didn't really deserve either. I would say that there's 2 players that got you 3 points, basically.
I would say out of the last 5 games, you probably should have lost all of them. Should have lost that game against Florida. Should have lost that game against Tampa. You did lose that game against Ottawa. It was bad. I'm sorry. Tampa was, you started off strong in Tampa, right? So why don't we actually start with that? Let's get into the bear down breakdown this week and we'll start with that. Well, let's start with the games and then we'll get into everything else, because I think we can just breeze by about it, because I think more of the talk tonight is actually going to be centered around what this team needs to do to get themselves motivated, what's going on, why are things not going the way they need to be, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on and beat this thing till we're blue in the face. So Tampa, let's address it. I would say that was good. I wouldn't say a good win, because Tampa showed a lot of pushback. You let up a lot of shots. But a high energy game, being out your top.
I thought that was a pretty good win. I would say that was a solid team win. You let up a lot of shots, but that's one of the games that Swayman steals from you for you.
That makes it 2 in a row, though. That Swayman had to steal from you.
I agree that it's not ideal, but that's what happened. I was at the game, which like we said before, thank God they won, because I would have been pissed. Also, undefeated at Bruins games this year, not a big deal. I thought that was a good team win. I mean, Swayman had what, 42 shot saves or something like that.
43 of 45 shots. But Cam, like you and I were saying before we started recording, the reason that you can't get as high on that game as you should is because that's something that should be a building block. You should be able to stack a few like that. Say you win that game and then say that they actually got their heads out of their asses and had a decent showing against Ottawa. We would have been touting that Tampa game as a huge win. They answered the bell when you were down a couple guys. You looked at that lineup going in, and on paper, you're like, there's no chance they should win this game, which made it the perfect setup for them to actually kind of rally around each other and pull it out. It was a great game. It's like you love putting up 6 goals against a top-notch opponent like that, but you can't get gassed up about it, because instead of building off of it or having it be any sort of turning up the page like we've seen so many other times this year where they do have a good showing, they go out and just immediately deflate their own sales the next game. So it's just like the Ottawa game more or less ruined the Lightning game as far as, being able to take too much from it or get too hyped about it.
I'll agree to that. I'll say on Tuesday after we beat the Lightning 6-2, I was very happy. I wasn't happy with the amount of shots that they let up, being again 40 plus shots, similar to that of the Florida game. But you come out, you're down two of your top defensemen in Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy. And I know Vogel will probably kill me for saying McAvoy is a top defenseman, but that's what he is to us. He makes $9 million.
Unfortunately, he is, and that's what worries me. And just to correct myself from earlier, they won 2 out of the last 6. I mean, I'm sorry, 2 out of the last 8.
Ugh.
So
That's tough.
that is where I was saying that's where my problem is that yes, the Florida win was nice and the Tampa win was nice, and I think that's probably why I was there, which was cool. It's always good to see them win in person, but
brief brag.
Coming off the win against Florida and the win against Tampa, it's like, all right, maybe we're starting to turn around, and then they go right back to what they were doing against Ottawa.
The Ottawa game was a perfect example of your offense goes out, scores 5 goals, and you collapse. That entire game, I was not confident, especially when the Bruins went down 2-0. I was not confident at all that the defense was actually going to step up and make the plays like they did against Tampa. Tampa's a much better team, I think, at least holistically, than Ottawa. Ottawa, I think, is without like Ullmark. I think they're just they haven't progressed anywhere. So I think Ullmark is hiding a lot of the problems with them, but. Just similar to Swayman right now, I think Swayman is close to hiding a lot of problems that are with the Bruins. I don't know if they're hiding them.
Well, look at what happened after that last game. We got bumped from a wild card spot. I mean, Ottawa's record is pretty much the same as yours. So if you want to say the goalies are giving you a little bit of a bump, yeah. I mean, when they decide to play good, and Ottawa, I think, isn't that great. But again, looking at the numbers, they're kind of right there with Boston. Yeah. They're on par.
From the first place team, I think it's now there's been some separation, but the first place team in the Atlantic to the last place team in the East overall it's 21 points. That's a lot, right? So, but before that, at ninth place, 8 points. But in terms of the wild card race, from the wild card 1, which is now Ottawa, to the last place team is 13 points. And Buffalo has a game in hand. From the second wild card spot, 12 points. It's tight. And then if you go to the ninth place team in the East, it's 8 points from wild card 2 and 9 points from wild card 1. The standings are so tight right now. It's going to be a dogfight to the end, and so it's difficult to say, hey, the Bruins are out of it, but they're not. I wouldn't say that they're in it. I think they need to make a decision on what goes on. So
I think that you, for a long time, were lucky to be in the position you were. Like, I think us sitting in third for so long, I think deep down we all sort of knew that was a flawed thing, but you had the ability to sort of get some momentum going multiple different times and solidify that spot, and you never did. So now the Bills coming due, where a couple of these teams behind you are getting hot. Like Detroit rattled off like 7 straight. The
frauds.
Canadians have decided that they know how to play hockey again. Like you're in trouble. Like, you're a lot closer to being way out of it than you are to really locking anything down. And there's nobody's to blame except for themselves. Like, you had ample opportunity to sort of get yourself some sort of steady footing.
I'd say half these losses were self-inflicted. Half these losses have been.
Oh, probably. I'd say more. Yeah, and it's the same thing every. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's not just a skill thing either. It's not like you're playing a good team game and like just don't have it. It's like complete defensive collapses. The special teams at the bottom of the league for most of the season, like, there's only so much of it that you can say, oh, we just don't have the horses, which you don't. But a team that plays well as a team can get more out of it than you've gotten so far, I guess is a weird way to say it. Like, in years past, the system would have gotten you a few more wins than what you've managed to pull this year. So it's just like, where did any of the team defense go? Where did any of the team structure go? Any of the buy-in? Like, that's just, I couldn't tell you what our system is at this point.
I couldn't tell you what our identity is, let alone our system. So for those of you, if you guys watched the game yesterday, Marshawn didn't take a shift in overtime. It came out that was a coach's decision. If that is the coach's decision, Marshawn is third in the NHL history in overtime points, and which makes him first all time in overtime points in Bruins history. And you sit that man when you need a desperate 2 points. Would you say that's on Joe Sacco?
I think it depends on why. If he had a valid reason, I don't blame him, but that's just me.
Yeah. Like, on paper, obviously, you'd say, yeah, you want your best players to play. And obviously, he's one of your best players. But like Matt said, you'd like to think that there's something that happened where the coach is like, it's in my best interest, whether you're making a point or whether you truly think that it's in your best interest. Like, what did your captain do to get to the point where the coach doesn't want him to see the ice when they need the points? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if
I think
that was
that's an indictment in and of itself.
yeah,
then
if
why
that
was
was the
Zadorov
case and
playing?
that's what happened, who know? Well, again, who knows what Marshawn did? It might not be a skill-based decision. Obviously, it's not because, like you said, Marshawn's been nasty, and especially in overtimes, he's the most in Bruins history. I didn't realize it was third most in NHL history.
Yeah. So
And
that's still
let's
my
not
point.
forget that this
Something
comes
obviously happened that warranted that. That wouldn't just happen out of
what,
nowhere.
a week. This comes a week after rumors of the room having an issue with him involved in it too.
Yeah.
I don't think that was it, because Marshawn was asked about it this morning after practice, and he said he understood it because he needed to hold himself accountable and Sacco himself accountable. But you could see visible frustration in Marshawn's face, and I'm actually in agreement with Marshawn here more than I would be with Joe Sacco. You're not in a position to hold players like your captain accountable and not hold Zadorov accountable, not give Lindholm a shift off, and but you're going to punish players like Wahlstrom, who finally break through against the reigning Stanley Cup champion. You have Poitras take a shift off in the Ottawa game because he did something minor that you probably didn't like. I just don't think that this coaching staff, after watching the Ottawa game and after the results from the Florida game, I genuinely don't think they know how to develop the talent. I don't think they trust the talent on the team. And I think they're making poor decisions that are shooting themselves in the foot, whether they think they're making the correct call or not. You needed that extra point out of Ottawa, and you elected not to put one of the best OT players out there.
But
That's on you.
Wouldn't that tell you that there was obviously something had to have happened to warrant that? Like, I don't think that was just you like Zadorov. Hey, you're taking too many penalties. You're going to sit. Like, I think that would mean that maybe something happened in the room. Maybe something was said between the third period and overtime. I don't think that would have just happened for nothing.
I wouldn't put it past Sacco at
that.
this point. I don't trust Sacco. I don't trust Don or anyone in this team's management or coaching staff's judgment. Look at Chris Kelly. He's still a power play coach. Why? I couldn't tell you. I
think both of those can be true.
Possibly.
I don't trust Sacco, but I also don't think that that's something that they do just for the sake of doing it. But I think that could also then be an indictment on the coaching staff for not having a handle on the room, or maybe you're losing the voices, you know what I mean? So it's like, say something did happen, say whether it was something in the room, whether it was something on the bench, whatever it was, that's also still an indictment on the coaching staff for not having a handle on the room, on the players, on the morale. So regardless, it's still going to be a reflection on the coaching staff and the lack of control that they seem to have. Like, I certainly don't think that we see Sacco in this position after this year.
No,
and with the team defense, I'm a little afraid of him being on that side of things as well. After I thought that he was pretty good for us for quite a while.
I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up, and I don't understand. It must have been something significantly bad for Marshawn to sit. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's not a time where you make that critical decision. It's like you play him and then you have the conversation with him after the locker room and you understand, and after the game, and you say, congratulations, we got the win, but you and I need to have a conversation, captain to coach, about how we're gonna work together. That's not a decision that you make in game, in my opinion, and say rely on Coyle, who had bricks for hands, Zadorov, who's notorious for putting you a man down. It's not, you don't put those players on the ice. You put your best foot forward and your best skilled players out there to end the game and then have the conversation afterwards, because that's I think that was more important than you swallowing pride at this juncture where we are at in the season. And we talked a lot about the defensive structure. I know we can agree to, and I think you guys bring up great points too with that. It had to have been something significant to bench Marchand. I don't think Sacco just sat there and was like, you turned over a puck, you're sat down, right? But I think at this stage where the team is at, like I said, it's something that you discuss after the game, and in private. I don't think you do that where this team is in the standings, especially against a division rival right now.
But again, doesn't it all just kind of speak to where this team
So
is
maybe
as a whole?
maybe
That
the
like
problem.
these are the discussions we're having.
Maybe
It's like it's just so on brand for this team this season.
maybe that could be true. Vogel, you were saying something?
Yeah, then my Wi-Fi cut out because it's the worst. I would just say, and again, I don't know what I missed what Kyle just said, but I think you like again, maybe that kind of brings to light maybe there is a problem with the attitude in the locker room, or what's been going on and what's being said and who it's revolving around. I'm not by no means saying that there's a problem in the locker room and it's Marchand's fault, but maybe something was said, or I don't know, that it's a possibility that could reflect that. And this thing that they're trying to bury, that everything's fine, like there's no issues in the locker room, everything's good, we're all buddy. Maybe that's Sacco kind of like, hey, like we're gonna put an end to this. And if that's the case, I hope that was just setting an example for everybody else. Like, look, this is gonna happen to anybody else. It happened to our captain. It's gonna happen to anybody else going forward, because we have to turn it around.
Maybe that could be fair. Let's talk the prodigal son returning for Providence real quick, and then we'll get into Swayman. Then we'll get into a question actually about the team as a whole that was actually submitted to us earlier this morning. They finally call up Poitras after Kostelik's injury, or Kastelik. I'm gonna keep calling him Kostelik. It's about time. Gets a point. His first game back, Tampa Bay. Great pass, great patience, and I thought he had a good game. Fast forward to Ottawa. I didn't think he had a bad game. I think the entire team had a bad game. Apparently, people noted that he was taking shifts off, like, in finger quotations. I don't know what that means. Like, was he lackadaisical, or did the coaches bench him? I don't know. And it's kind of like why I say this coaching staff has no idea how to handle these young players. I think they're a more veteran geared staff, because that's what they've had over the past decade. So handling younger players, it seems to be a challenge for them. But he has returned. What did you guys think over his last two games since he came back?
I thought it was great. I thought that like you said, that assist against Tampa, I thought that was a great example. I don't think at the beginning of the season or last season, maybe he tries to force a shot or try to force a pass when he could have waited. I think the stint in Providence obviously helped him. He was tearing it up down there. I think he deserves to be up here. That's my opinion, but hopefully he stays up here long term.
Kyle?
Yeah, I think it was long overdue. I think he did just about everything you would expect him to do down in Providence. I think we've been waiting with bated breath for him to make a return for a team that could use some offensive spark. I've had enough of Love You Mean It, Mark McLaughlin, all the other guys that have kind of been popping in and out. So it was nice to see him come in and immediately make an impact and make the kind of play that you really haven't seen any of these other retread plugins kind of make. It's just like he's still raw, he's still young, he's still small, he's gonna make mistakes, but we've seen him multiple times now in a very short window of his career make the kind of plays that immediately impact the game. those guys don't grow on trees, and arguably we don't have any other ones waiting in the wings.
Nope, not even
so
close.
it's in their best interest for this guy to get a real chance and like actually set him up for success. So I thought he played well. I mean, the Ottawa game, frankly, I don't think many of the forwards played well. I think the Pastrnak line had themselves a good game. I think just about every other forward line, top to bottom, played a pretty lackadaisical game. So if they're saying he took a couple shifts off, I mean, literally so did everybody else. I sent you guys a picture in the chat that was like,
yep, puck watching.
All three forwards were in each other's back pocket, puck watching, nowhere near the play that ended up in one of the 5 goals that we gave up. Like nobody played a stout game. So I don't want to hear it. Don't harp on the 20-year-old when you get guys that have been in the league for 10 plus years doing the same shit.
I also, and I want to hear Cam's take on this after, or in the whole Padre situation. But it also was important to note too. Like Kyle, I don't know. I think you were, maybe it was the last episode or the one before that, where you were saying you have guys, on your first, and like Geeky, who on any other team he wouldn't be in the position he's in with expectations as high. I think with Poitras' success last year, early on in the season, and the expectations coming into this year, I think people set the bar very, very high. And because he's what, like you just said, 20 years old, 21 years old, when he's not playing, that game, people get frustrated and jump right to send him back down to Providence or let him develop. Like, no, if he was on another team, he wouldn't expect it to play, top 6 minutes, be a second line center. He's a young kid, and it's going to take some time for him to develop. And I don't think that he belongs in Providence, but I don't think that he's a first line center in the NHL yet. It's going to take some time.
I agree with that, and it's the same point I want to echo with Mason Lowry. People are willing to crucify Mason Lowe right now. I mean, like, all because of look what he showed you last year in the playoffs against a good Leafs team and a good Florida Panthers team. People are just like, where was this? Like, this isn't who you're playing. Like, in the playoffs, like, you're playing like crap. He's 23. He's going to make a couple mistakes here and there. This is his first full season in the NHL. I'm willing to give Mason Lowe a couple shots, much like I'm willing to give Poitras a couple shots right now. They're young. It's their first full seasons. I'm not going to hold too much against them on it. I'm going to be frustrated with them at times, but I'm not going to throw them under the bus and say they're garbage, let's get rid of them, because you could end up getting rid of a player that really goes out and makes a name for himself. And you can see that in both of them.
And it's the same thing with him. Yeah, I was gonna say it's the same thing with Lowry too. Where just like maybe you don't hear this type of chatter if he's not being forced to play huge minutes because your decoy is not that deep, and now you're down 2 guys. You know what I mean? So it's like he's being asked to play a ton of big minutes as a 23-year-old who, let's be honest, has a more offensive lean to his game anyway. Probably not the most responsible defensive defenseman that you have. So couple those things together, and all of a sudden you're getting put into positions that maybe you shouldn't be in, and maybe the shine wears off a little bit. But the simple fact is you need these guys to do well, and it's on the team to put them into the position to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a good example. I think that's probably the best example I could have is like giving, like, Bruins fans need to come to the realization, and I think the majority of them do, right? I think the majority of us as fans are just like, yeah, we need to give them time, but I think it's everything's compounding all at once. Swayman having a cold start to the season, and the whole team not performing to whatever. So we're starting to point fingers and starting to play the blame game and where things are going on. And the more and more as the season drags on, I'm starting to look more at the coaching staff and Don Sweeney as a whole. I'm looking at them now more than I am the players, because I look at them on paper and I'm like, the personnel is there. I think you have the personnel. I think and maybe you need a left winger. People still say a top center. I think Elias Lindholm can get that. I think it's a systematic problem. But we'll get into that in a few moments. I want to touch base on Swayman because so many people were hating on him earlier on this season, and he has now faced 3 straight games in a row that he has played where he has seen more than 40 shots. And I think out of that, he's let in 12 goals out of those 120 something shots. And he, it's just, It's amazing. He's returned to me. He's returned to form. I think most of the goals that have been scored, if not all of them, have not been on him.
I think his last 5 games, he's averaged 38 shots against and has a 916.
Yeah. To me, that's elite.
Oh, he's the only reason you've gotten points in the last few games that you've gotten points out of. 100%.
Doesn't it bother you? And this is a question to both of you, that people will still find a way to blame him after hearing all those statistics? What goalie faces 38 shots on average right now?
Yeah, probably whoever's suiting up for the Sharks or something.
Maybe. But like,
yeah,
for real.
like some just literally just the dregs of the league is about it. I say, like, there's no goalie that's doing that, and the fans are talking about trying to be in a playoff spot.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke. So for the fans that are hating on Swayman right now, go pound sand.
I think it goes back to what was said earlier, and I forget which one of you bozos said it because my Wi-Fi cut out. But now that things are, you're kind of starting to see where the team is at. Where realistically where they kind of not should be, but they aren't even top in the division. They're just kind of an average team that had a good stretch at the beginning of the year, and now they're kind of leveling out. And especially for a fan base like Boston, they're used to being at the top of the league, the top of the division, winning all those rivalry games. So they're looking for someone to blame. And I think that Swayman is the easy scapegoat. First of all, because he's a goalie. Second of all, because of the whole contract thing at the beginning of the year. So I think that is kind of an easy out for Bruins fans. It's the goalies and the refs and just all the very the stuff that's right there in front of you. I mean, without looking deeper into it, like Kyle just said, the only reason that you're really in this spot still is because of the way he's been playing over the past couple weeks.
I'd argue Korpisalo too. I think again, your goalies are bailing you out.
And granted, I think the thing with
go ahead, Kyle. All right, I'll say this real quick. Granted, Korpisalo's numbers over the year have not. He's a sub 900 goalie, I think, but still, I think in the games that he has played well, where are the games where, he stole you because you weren't you were not defending him well. And the games where he's lost were very evident that you were not the better team, and he couldn't do much about it. It just so happens that those were just low shot games. You know what I mean? So it hurts him. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say the thing with fans still harping on Swayman, I think those are the fans that, let's be honest, at the beginning of the season, Swayman was part of the problem. He came back rusty after not being there for camp, and out of the gate, he hurt you. So I think the people that are still banging that drum are the people who, whether you're not watching or you just want to keep the same beat going since the season started, they're probably the ones that were on him at the beginning of the season. Now they're staying on him, even though his play is absolutely turned around as of late. And between him and Pastrnak, basically the two reasons that you got points over the last week and a half.
Yep.
That's what I mean. It's an easy scapegoat. I mean, you guys have watched a lot of hockey. You've played a lot of hockey. How many games have you watched where the team has played bad and you can come away at the end of the game saying that was not the goalie's fault? They left him out to dry.
Absolutely.
And when the team is not playing well in front of you, maybe it's, and again, this is going to be a very unpopular take if that's your opinion about Swayman and saying he's part of the reason that they were playing this bad. But maybe you just don't know hockey. I mean, maybe you just don't know what you're talking about, because if you watch the games and you look at the numbers, that's not the case at all. You're an idiot.
It's scary. I was at the game before Monty got fired. I was at the 5-1 loss. I had to sit and watch the Bruins defenders just let them walk in on him. It was nuts. They were not defending.
And they still aren't. That is what drives me absolutely bonkers with this team. That has not changed all season, and I don't know how it got to this point where it's this bad. between Zadorov not knowing where he is half the time, running into his D
Potato.
partner for the day, tripping. It's like literally, I was just like, what are we watching? Like, was it at least 3 goals that he was on the ice for against Ottawa, and just like was nowhere near the guy he's supposed to cover. The D zone coverage this year has just been atrocious. Like the forwards are terrible. The D's, it's just like what literally, like, have we not tried to do anything different? Like, hey guys, maybe this game we should cover somebody. Just one guy at least. Like, let's just pick one. I don't care. It's like, no, let's just look exactly the way that we've looked the entire season in our own end. It's crazy.
Quick question for the two of you. Hypothetically, the 6 on the Bruins back end, all the defensemen are playing at 100%. They're playing their best game. You know, where do you rank your personnel on defense among the rest of the league? Is this just an example of us expecting too much from guys that just don't have it?
No, because it's the same defense over the last 2 years. I think it's
I don't
there.
think it should. I think it should be. Yeah, like So I know Cam said earlier that he's like he thinks we have the personnel up front. I don't. I think your forward group is very problematic. I think you should be fine on defense. I don't think you should. Like, I don't think you're tops of the league, but I think McAvoy is a very good defenseman. Maybe not elite, but probably top of the very good tier. I think Hampus Lindholm is arguably another top of that tier kind of guy. So I think you arguably have 2 first pairing guys that you're able to break up and put onto your first 2 pairings as opposed to just your top pairing. Carlo was arguably one of the best defensive defensemen in the league for the past few years. I don't know what cliff he found to jump off of this year. Zadorov.
They stuck him with Zadorov. That's what they did.
Yeah, honestly. Zadorov should be like a 7th defenseman. I don't know why the fuck we paid that guy.
$5 million.
I think your defense should be fine.
$5 million, no movement clause for 3 of his 5 years. Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah, he's even when he's good, he's not that good.
No, I should correct myself, Kyle. It's like when I say the personnel is there, I'm talking about team entirely. I'm not talking about just the offense. I should have clarified that. I think you have your goaltender. I think you have a strong defense. The system right now is just not working for you for the defense. I think you have a decent enough forward group that's still missing fast, speedy talent in the form of maybe Lysell or a top line left winger, Merkulov or whoever. But you see, for an example, is like when you brought up Poitras, you saw some creativity happen. The problem is with the offense is they're lacking creativity. But I think the personnel, we can get personnel in that can actually bring that here. So I think the offense is almost there, but you're lacking some creativity. Sorry, I should have clarified that earlier.
So what about you, Matt? You asked the question.
I mean, I'm kind of up in the, because like you said, I'm not his biggest fan. Everybody knows that. But when McAvoy's playing 100%, he's playing good. He should be one of the better ones in the league. He for sure should be your best defenseman. You made a good point. Carlo had a good year last year. Hampus Lindholm had a good year last year. But that's 3 of them. I mean, you have 6 defensemen, and now you're relying on Zadorov, who hasn't done anything, and I'm starting to wonder if that's just who he is as a person. You're relying on Jordan Osterley. You're relying on Parker Wotherspoon and Andrew Peeke, and these guys that I don't think at times should be carrying the workload they are.
Well, right now they don't have a choice. But if
that's my point.
If we had Lindholm, McAvoy back, so it would be Lindholm, McAvoy, Zadorov, Carlo, Lowry, Peeke. And I think that's decent. I think that's a pretty good defense, provided that Zadorov doesn't take a penalty, provided that you actually get a coach that gives a flying fuck about what this team's identity is, because I don't think Sacco does, and it's being more and more evident because I think he's lost the locker room. Actually, let's get into that question real quick, because we had a fan submit a question, and this was submitted by Into the Den on Twitter. They would like to know how much of the poor defensive structure.
Shout out Into the Den.
Shout out into the den, dude. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the support. We love to hear from you. How much of the poor
I think
defensive structure
if it's not,
is
his name is Oscar now.
What? What are you talking about?
His name's Oscar now.
His name is now Oscar. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so
Okay.
You suck.
how much of the poor defensive structure is due to that awkward silence was awful? How much of the poor defensive structure is due to no McAvoy and Lindholm, and or how much of it is due to the defensive structure in general? Kyle, lead us off.
That's a good question. Someone who has asked this question similar has a big brain, so I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I think it's Vogel. You and him, I think, must have had I'm sorry, I'm assuming, but similar question. But I think while we're on the topic, it's good to bring up.
I think it's certainly a contributor. Obviously, you're down two of the better defensemen on the team, sure, but at the same point, the team defense was bad at the start of the season when both those guys were in the lineup. So part of me wants to lean that it's definitely going to be more system than it is personnel. Obviously, it exacerbates the problem when, again, you're plugging in guys like Callahan, you're asking Wotherspoon to play important minutes, Lohrei's having to step up and play top minutes. But yeah, I think that there's something seriously wrong with your team defensive system now all of a sudden. I don't know how, why, where. I think the easy solution is to blame Montgomery, and that's been like a slow decline over his tenure in that system. But I think that all aspects sort of contribute to it. Obviously, the not having your best options available aren't going to make things look very good. What about you guys?
Vogel.
I mean, just like I said, I think that at times they haven't been playing well. They haven't been playing, and that's very evident. I think at times you're asking a lot from guys who are not going to give it to you, and we get frustrated when they don't. I think people need to take a step back and kind of realize, like, hey, this is what these guys are, and they're like Kyle said. I mean, we're in trouble. We're in trouble if they don't after this year, if they don't make any moves. And I think even with McAvoy fully healthy, Lindholm fully healthy, I think you need to bring in at least one defenseman. But to that point, even if your defense is playing shutdown defense and they're firing on all cylinders, they could let up no shots. No shots on goal. You're not going to win games unless your forwards, most of the time, your forwards can put the puck in the net. You can give up 0 goals, you can give up 0 shots, but you're not going to win games unless you score.
That is the goal of hockey, isn't it? Right? Score goals. Someone didn't tell the Bruins that, but like that is the objective of the game.
Yeah, it's
not golf.
They haven't been,
low scoring does not win in this.
Yeah, you have to put the puck in the net, and they have not been doing that.
Yeah, I've mulled over this question, and I've taken everything into consideration, like what you guys said too. I think this is a situation, and it's kind of a cop out, I guess, but both can be true here, where we're definitely suffering.
Oh, come on!
I think you're definitely suffering from not having Lindholm on. I'm gonna give a good answer. I think anyway. I think both can be true in a sense, but I still think the underlying problem, and Vogel brings up a good point, they could play at 100%, and it doesn't matter. Your offense needs to go and score. I think we are suffering without Lindholm. I think we are suffering without McAvoy because it shows in the shot totals. If you look at the shot differentials from when both of them were playing in the lineup as opposed to them not being in the lineup, I think you're suffering in terms of that. But I think ultimately, even if they were in the lineup, they, like Vogel said, they're not playing well. They're not playing up to the degree of which their contract value is. I think personally, and I shouldn't say I'm going to say both are true, but I think one is more true than the other. I think it is systematic. I think it is something this year that is different. You change the coach, but you don't change the system. Or if anything, you make the system worse. Because like I said, like you're 1 year removed from having Lindholm and McAvoy having decent years, Carlo having a decent year. Peak played well in the playoffs. Lowry played well in the playoffs. You're 1 year removed from this. Nothing really has changed except adding personnel to the locker room. So I'm going to say it's
Nothing's changed. Truthfully, I don't even think a ton's changed with the coaching change. Sacco's been behind the bench for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
They've been playing the same system for that long. I mean, what do you think he's going to do? Come in and just revolutionize the goddamn locker room?
No,
He's
but
going to play the system that he knows and he's used to, which is exactly what they were doing before.
and it's a Claude Julien, and I think it's a Claude Julien-esque type system where you win games 1-0. The only problem is you don't have down defense. Zdeno Chara, Seidenberg, McQuaid. Like, you don't have those guys anymore. You don't have Andrew Ferentz. You don't have any of these guys anymore. You have a much more dynamic defense.
I'm glad you brought that up, Cam, because like I was saying before, you don't have those guys, so you can't expect the defense to come out and play like you have Chara and Seidenberg and McQuaid and Ferentz and all these guys that are not young and less skilled.
Right. I agree. And I think that the system that they have, and why I say it's a system, is because the system that the Bruins have had for the last decade has catered to those types of defensemen. So it's time to change it. That's why. So that's my answer. Both I think are true in a sense, but I think the system is more true than the other piece. And Higgy's yawning. Yawn for me, Higgy. Yawn for me. All right, let's do some player updates.
Hey, who's that jersey you're wearing right now?
That's not Gaudreau?
This would. Nope. Come on. Any other guesses?
Aginla?
Vladar?
No, right arrow though.
Oh,
no. What?
What's the number? Is it Kip 3? Shit.
Dion Phaneuf?
Yeah, it sure is.
Jesus Christ.
Wow. That's an oldie guy, too. Wow. All right, moving on to some player updates. Thank you for Higgy's fun jersey fact of the day.
I like it.
Hampus Lindholm skating with the team. Timetable still uncertain. He's wearing a maroon jersey. Good to see him back on the ice. Hopefully he gets back soon. Another update after today: McAvoy will not play against the San Jose Sharks, and they're going to evaluate him again afterwards. We're still without those two for the foreseeable future. Geeky, I want to bring up because I think he's been awesome. He has 8 points in his last 10 games. He's really doing a lot of work, I think, on that top line with Zacha and Pasternak. Still, I don't think he's the answer, but he needs to go down. Geek Squad, rally, boys. Rally up. Tons of credit to Geeky right now. I think he's been in and around the puck.
You're asking a lot from him, and he's delivering for the most part. I mean,
yeah, he is a middle six guy playing top 6 minutes, and he's helping in every way he possibly can.
Yeah, I did not expect this kind of year from him this year.
I don't know if you guys know him, but Brett Howard, the Howie bump is what he calls it, and I tag him now in all the Twitter posts with the Geek Squad meme because he called out Geeky on Twitter, and Geeky had responded, so it was funny. So now, and he loves the bit. I've talked to him about it, so he's chill guy. The Bruins also this past week announced their quarter century team through the NHL. I want to go on and ask you guys, who stays and who goes? In case, or do you guys not know? Did you guys see the graphics at all?
I did, but for those who didn't, why don't you just rifle off some names?
I believe for the first team, it was. Oh God, I'm blanking now. Hold on. For the first team, it was Patrice Bergeron, Dave Krejci, Brad Marchand, Zdeno Chara, Charlie McAvoy, Tim Thomas. The second team was David Pasternak, Joe Thornton, Dennis Seidenberg, Torrey Krug, Tuukka Rask, and Milan Lucic. I would change around a couple of these. Like, I would probably put Pasternak on first team. I think the only reason why Krejci's on there is because of the cup, but I'm actually putting Pasta over Krejci. I'd swap those two. There's definitely one I'm getting rid of.
Yeah, I think that the Lucic pick, like you said, I think that had a lot to do with the early 2010s and obviously the cup run and everything. There was a couple guys that I like this. I was surprised. It was the 2011 team, and Joe Thornton was this entire fucking
Effectively, yeah.
quarter century team.
Yeah, right.
I think that, and again, I think that Lucic maybe. I think Torrey Krug. I mean, I would get rid of him. Torrey Krug, I wouldn't have on there. I would for sure put guys like Cam. I think you might have mentioned this too when they first got announced. I try to work Mark Savard in there somewhere. I think he deserves to be on there. I think that the early 2000s guys got completely left off. I would throw someone like Sergei Samsonov in there somewhere.
That's another good one.
Um,
What about Nathan Horton?
Maybe
if you're gonna
he
go, if
could
you're
probably
honestly
take your
gonna
Luch spot.
you can name anyone to take that Luch spot. I honestly, and it's no discredit to what Lucic did for the Boston Bruins. I think it's a morale thing or a moral thing here. For me, we're not going to get into it. It happened last year.
oh yeah, but that you're talking about the first. I mean the past 25 years, and obviously that
right. I think for me, it's still a more moral thing.
I just think that there's been guys that have been more impactful than he has.
So have I.
A lot of these guys, a lot of it's like a longevity thing. Like, yeah, Krejci was on the team for what, fucking 15 years.
Well, I mean, Krejci, I think, is also up there in Bruins history too. But I mean, yeah, I would put Mark Savard over Lucic. I would put Nathan Horton over Lucic for sure. I might even toss Greg Campbell in there because he killed that penalty with a broken leg. That's heart. Takes heart. Maybe Andrew Ference too, just as a winger, just because he flipped off the entire Montreal Canadiens crowd and he said that his glove got stuck.
Yeah,
that was funny.
I also, and I want to hear, this is the last thing I'll say again, I want to hear from Kyle because we kind of been talking over him the whole time. Hot take, I would probably swap Tim Thomas and Tuukka Rask, put Tuukka first team. And I understand that Tim Thomas was there to win the cup, but and that was an unbelievable run that he was on. But I think, as a whole, that was really, I mean, Tim Thomas is what, 1 or 2 good years. One of them was obviously spectacular in 2011, but I would Tuukka first.
It's a good take. I don't hate the take.
So I can entertain that. I think for me the ones that I was trying to reckon with, and it's kind of tougher than it should be. Like I'll be honest, I was looking for a way for me to move McAvoy off first team back to second team. And not because I don't, but more so just like, has he really done or had the same impact already that Chara has? You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
How long has he been on the team?
Is he good? Sure. Longer than you think, probably.
20.
Didn't he? Because he made
really?
He made his debut in the playoffs for us as well, I believe, right?
I think it was 2017.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 17, 18, he played. Oh, no. So I guess he wasn't a playoff debut. 17, 18.
Yeah.
He played 63 games.
I'm very hard.
But I don't know. So I guess for me, I just wanted him shifted backwards. So I guess like I would probably take Torrey Krug off, move McAvoy back one. But I'll be honest, I couldn't even, I guess, come up with a better answer. Ference was one that I had considered. I also thought Boychuk for a minute. I think Boychuk would have been a shoo-in had his tenure here not ended as quickly as it did.
Yeah,
and then same thing up front. It's just like I'd give Luch the boot, and then honestly, the rest of the forwards, I'm pretty okay with. I think Jumbo was like the face or the player you thought of in that sort of earlier 2000s
Oh yeah, dude,
era.
he was awesome. I loved him. when growing up.
Pasternak's probably top 3 for homegrown offensive talents that we've had in the
in history,
quarter century. So it's just like, yeah, maybe, yeah. And then again, it's like Krejci, Bergeron, Marchand. You're not really going to kick any of them out of there. They both had they all had the longevity and the impact. So yeah, I think so. Sorting out McAvoy, replacing Luch, and getting rid of Torrey Krug. And I think that's about all I would do. I could entertain Vogel's swap of the goalies as well, just for, again, the impact and the longevity. But then it's just like, well, are you giving more weight to the impact over the time or the impact of a win? Like, I guess, like, how do you want to structure your team?
Yeah, I'm actually I might agree with Vogel. I would switch Tim Thomas and Tuukka Rask. It's a hot take. I mean, he's the winningest goaltender in Bruins history. And
I
yes,
get the
Tim
idea
Thomas-
behind putting Thomas on that first team, but
I
I
do.
just think if you look at a big picture, I think that Tuukka would be up there.
That's where I think I'm going to go with that. I think big picture, yes, I would agree with you that Tuukka should probably be on the first team. And people will say, "Oh, well, he blew us 2013. He didn't lose us 2019. That was the team collapsing in Game 7." But he's been to 3 Stanley Cup Finals, played in 2 of them. I don't know. It's kind of hard. I mean, Tim Thomas had a run of the year, and that Bruins team was just a team of destiny. I think at that point, you shouldn't have beat Vancouver. I think they were the much better team, but you go and stone them in Vancouver in Game 7. So I mean, get a ton of credit to Tim Thomas, but I'm not willing to, or I'm sorry, I'm not against having that be a toss up and have that be just a matter of preference on who you would rather on there. I don't know.
I also want to give an honorable mention to Hannu Toivonen from the early 2000s. For no other reason than I just liked Hannu Toivonen.
Not a big Steve Shields guy.
I didn't mind Steve Shields. When did Byron Dafoe play?
Byron Dafoe?
Early 2000s, I think. I think
Was it early
he's
2000s?
in
All right,
the
I'm giving him an
20th
honorable mention too.
Okay. Vogel's hot takes of the night. Really good.
Yeah, he played in 01 and 02. So.
Oh, big man. Big man.
Yeah. Honorable mention to Byron Dafoe.
We kind of actually touched before we move on to the Big Bad Bruin and then the week look ahead. I just wanted to say that we did touch upon some of the questions that we had about the accountability and who owns that. And I think we agree that it's kind of on the players and the coaching staff, but we've never really settled on who that was. But I don't think the three of us will necessarily agree on that. I think we all have some good differing opinions and stated some points pretty well. We touched upon the team's biggest need. One thing that we didn't touch upon and something I wanted to ask, when does Sweeney actually get fired? And I wanted to phrase that question in a sense where, do you guys think, irrespective if we make the playoffs or not, that he does not have his job at the end of the season?
Sack Daddy?
Don Sweeney.
Don Sweeney. Yes, I do. Do I agree with it? No,
yeah.
But I think that he does.
So that he does keep his job.
Yep. I don't think so. I think that he should be gone. I think that Neely should also be gone, but they're both going to be there. Nothing's going to change, and we'll be aggravated next year too.
Hey.
I unfortunately agree with that on both accords. They should be gone, and they likely will not be gone. But at the same time, I don't like to do the thing where people say, you got to fire him. It's like, well, then who is the answer? Who are you replacing him with that's better? And I don't have that answer. So
exactly. Have a plan in mind. I agree with you 100%, Higgy. I don't have an answer in mind, but I also think that he should be gone. Irrespective, I think if we miss the playoffs, I would say he's definitely gone. There's no question about it. Because I don't want him touching a lottery pick after 2015. I'm all set. I'm so all set, dude. I'm so good. The only decent pick I think he made was McAvoy because I think he was 10 or something like that. And then Pasternak was, I think, 25th overall, and that was a steal. So there you go. Yeah, that was just a fun question I wanted to throw in there for some good Bruins fans who are equally as frustrated as us. Let's get into the Big Bad Bruin. I do not have the video clip for it because my Muppet ass deleted it. So we're just going to get right into it, and Kyle's going to lead us right off with the Big Bad Bruin.
Oh, you want me to lead?
Yeah, dude, I want you to lead. Because I'm not ending with some negativity. We need some positivity in our life.
All right, that's fair. Yeah. My answer is none of them. because that Ottawa
Honest answer.
game made me so fucking angry that I'm not giving any of these hoes credit. That the complete
Penalty on the
lack of
play.
hustle, lack of anything. They get nothing. They get nothing.
None of them.
Now, if I
Cause
wasn't
fuck
being
them.
petty and yeah, if I wasn't being petty and angry, I would probably say Swayman or Pasternak. But as
God.
MJ says, fuck them kids.
I'd say,
Put it on a
What
graphic.
say-
Fuck them kids.
oh my god, dude. That's crazy. Please tell me you're gonna put that in the weekly brew tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Fuck them
Put it
kids.
on a graphic. Fuck them kids. I'm gonna start making graphics for our weekly Big Bad Bruins just because I want to put that out there.
You should. It'd be great. Fuck them kids. Meanwhile, everyone on the Bruins is crickets.
Fuck them.
Great explanation, Kyle.
All right, Cam. Who do you got?
I got Jeremy Swayman. 2 games. I know he's 1-0-1 this week, but you want to know what? Dude, that guy's been the balls. He's saved your ass. He's 3 straight games, 40 plus shots on net. Kyle said it, 9-16 in his last 5, and he's had average 38 shots. I mean, the guy is just baller. He's keeping you in the games. So he's a no-brainer for me, man. I don't know. He's no Vezina candidate right now, but he stole you 2 games this past week in the form of Florida and Tampa. And then, Ottawa happened.
And he doesn't count as one of those not skating assholes.
Yeah. That's not skating assholes. He can't get into the butterfly quick enough.
Oh my god.
Bum. Loser. Kyle's hot takes. That's it. That's Swayman. Who's your not skating asshole of the week, Vogel?
I got 88. David Pasternak.
Good choice.
This is a tweet that I saw. I made a note of it from Sean Hutchin on Twitter. Pasternak recorded his 3rd straight game with 3 points. He became the 10th player in Bruins history to post a streak of 3 or more games with 3 points, and he is the first since Ray Bourque in the 93-94 season.
30 years.
Out of all those players, Bobby Orr, he leads all those players. He had a 6-game stretch of 3 points in the 70-71 season.
Awesome.
I think that goes to show that on a team that is not playing super well, that he's still putting up some numbies. And although he is part of the not skating ass hose, he's been pretty good this past week.
Is there? Nice. All right, guys, that is our big bad. We really didn't even have a concise big bad, but like I but whatever. I'm doing the horn anyway.
But we kind of did, because Kyle said if it wasn't, fuck them kids, he would have picked Pasternak or Swayman. So I count that as a win.
We'll count it. We have 2 bum ass hoes that win Bruin of the Week this week.
Yeah, you fuck bags.
Oh God. Oh
He's toe ass
Jesus.
among them.
Well, we got 4 games. We got a busy week this week, guys. We got 4 games. 4 games. And I see Kyle just looking at it right now in the show rundown.
Before we check anything, give me a quick update on the in-season competition, because I'm pretty sure I made a little bit of fucking progress on you guys this past week.
Oh yeah, a whole maybe 1%, big guy.
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
Yeah, you're right. Ladies and gentlemen, for the in-season update, we actually have another position change. I am back in first place by a slim margin with 62.5%, followed by Higgy, who's at 62.2%. And Vogel's gained a whole 1% on us at 55.6%.
Let me tell you that 1% feels good, and it is going to hit like I don't even know. It's going to be bliss hearing you say there's been a position change and Vogel is now in first, and one of our sorry asses is now losing because it's coming. I went 1-1 last week, and it's over. I have you right where I want you.
Not happening, buddy. Not happening.
We'll see. We'll see.
No, sir. No, sirree.
Right when you guys thought you were getting comfortable, just wait.
Yeah, just wait. He's gonna drop to 48%, and you wouldn't. We're gonna see him leave the group chat. He's gonna be like, "Fuck you guys. I don't even want to do this shit anyway."
Just
Oh god. Monday we got So tomorrow we have San Jose matinee game. Wednesday we have New Jersey at New Jersey,
Fuck a
7
matinee.
p.m.
dude,
Yeah,
fucking
it's so bummed. We got 2 this week. Ottawa Thursday, 7 p.m. So that's a game I can't wait to watch again. In Colorado, Saturday, 1 p.m. matinee.
Is it just me, or we played Ottawa so many times?
We played them 4
Feels like
times
it.
this year. This will be the last meeting of them.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Getting sick
it's
of
great
Ottawa.
because we're just giving them all the. No, we haven't. We played them. We have one more meeting after this one, I believe. I think I'll have to double check that. I'm not.
I just feel like, and I don't
sure.
know, I'm basing it off nothing. I just feel like we've played Ottawa a lot this year.
Well, it's because these games feel like they're an eternity long, especially when your defense is letting up several goals. But we digress.
Yeah, I guess.
But fuck these matinee games, dude. I'm so done with them. So done with them. Anyway, I'm gonna go win San Jose because we should. For the love of God, we should. They're garbage. New Jersey loss. Interesting though, the New Jersey actually has been on a bit of a small skid. So I'm still saying loss because they're just built different. Literally. In Ottawa, win because there's got to be some fucking retribution somewhere for this shit. We got it against Tampa. We got one against Florida. Just for the love of God, just give me something. We had 2 OT losses against Ottawa. Just for fuck's sake, give me something. And then Colorado, a win. I could just because I need
Is
to
that
have
wishful thinking, or
that's just wishful thinking. We're probably going to lose it, but for the love of fucking Christ, I need the juice, man. So I'm going that. So I have a 3 in 1 week, and that loss could be OTL or L. It's probably just going to be a straight fucking L. Vogel, because I want to save Higgies for last.
very similar to yours. I have a San Jose as a win. I have New Jersey as a loss. I have Ottawa as a win, and I have Colorado as a loss. 2
That's probably
matinee
the
games
smarter
in a
pick.
week sucks.
Yeah,
But
let's get together for the Saturday game, boys. I think that's what we should do.
we'll see. Maybe we'll get a little live stream going.
Have just like a big cask of whiskey just right next to us to straight IV into the veins to deal with this shit. We'll see how the week goes. Higgy.
I got San Jose as a win. I got New Jersey loss. I got Ottawa loss. And I got Avalanche loss.
Boo! You suck.
I hope that's for the team, not me, because hey, I can only score so many goals, guys.
The way they're playing, I can't really fault you for that.
They might benefit from having you on the ice at that point. That playoff beard you got going on is gonna vibe them up, dude.
We're kind of
I
across
can
the
take
board.
less
We're kind of
penalties than
scattered.
Zadorov for sure.
We're kind of scattered throughout the board on this too. So we might see some more position changes. We might see Matty Vogel climb up the position ladder over here.
You and I have one difference in the game. And you just have the Colorado loss, dude. That's not gonna propel you into like so the difference would be going 100% for you and 75% for me, or vice versa. That would be the big difference, big guy. That's not going to propel you. However, that could propel you over Higgy if he goes 25% this week.
Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Slow and steady.
Actually, no. Even if Higgy goes 50%, yeah, you would, buddy. Yeah, you need to gain some ground. That's what we need to
We'll
do.
see.
All right. That'll do it. Vogel, take us out. Bye, Captain. And
Ladies and gentlemen, that will.
note.
You gonna interrupt me again?
Yeah, I will.
All right, you threw me all off. That's episode 29. Go check out HiBruiNation.com. Yeah, hopefully the team plays better. Since we're playing San Jose, just a little something for you guys. On average, sharks kill fewer than 10 people per year, and humans kill about 100 million sharks per year.
Oh my God.
So yeah, they should be more scared of us than we are of them. I love sharks, so I don't love that stat, but yeah, make sure you check us out on Twitter, Bluesky, through our website. I'm pretty sure TikTok will go offline 45 seconds. So that's back up. Check us out on that. Send us a DM, a voice memo, like, comment, subscribe. As always, we love you guys. And until next time, go Bruins.
Peace out, everybody.
Woo!